Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know it's a dog-eat-dog world. Ooh, and evidently that includes fake news. This is from Forbes.com from May 28th. CNN to cut jobs, production in London.
Jordan, look at this thing. It's beautiful.
CNN will reportedly make substantial cuts to its London-based news operations in a restructuring that is likely to result in dozens of employees losing their job, The Guardian reported Tuesday. CNN struggling in third place behind its U.S. cable news competitors, Fox News Channel and MSNBC, is also experiencing losses at its sister network, CNN International, with employees present at a surprise town hall meeting in London told the losses have reached $10 million a year. Employees present at the meeting told The Guardian CNN boss Jeff Zucker said the losses meant CNN would cut news production in London and shift some jobs to CNN facilities in Atlanta and New York. Employees working on affected shows were given no advance warning of the announcement. The cuts will involve ending production of some London-based shows and replacing live broadcasts with repeats of shows like Christiane Amanpour's flagship program. Viewers of CNN International will see fewer hours of news produced from London, while Zucker reportedly told employees the network will continue to emphasize digital and online reporting from the UK newsroom. The news from London comes in the wake of reports CNN staffers in the U.S. were bracing for a reorganization.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
A senior producer at the network told The Hollywood Reporter there are all kinds of rumors about impending layoffs. The network recently offered buyouts to some of the network's most experienced staffers, with CNN International Managing Director Tony Maddox among those who took the offer to leave. CNN in recent months have experienced huge rating declines, while April ranking as the network's lowest rated month among total viewers in nearly 4 years. Among viewers 25 to 54, which is a big demographic, the demographic group most coveted by advertisers, CNN drew an average audience in April of just 198,000 viewers in prime time, a drop of 41% from the same month 1 year earlier, according to ratings data compiled by Nielsen. MSNBC drew 255,000 viewers in the demo, and Fox News Channel led it with an average audience of 389,000. So, fake news doing some more downsizing. I guess there's not as much demand for fake news these days. But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I've got Brian Stelter from NBC. He's going to clear it all up for us.
I just want to clear the record. They are not layoffs. They are voluntary buyouts.
All right, whatever, Mr. Stelter, but I feel like you don't sound your normal self. Are you sure this is Brian Stelter?
Yes, of course it is.
All right, because you sound a little bit like Mapplethorpe with a bald wig on.
Lies! You are fake news.
All right, fair enough. Well, according to Maple Stelter, it looks like MSNBC is only doing voluntary buyouts, but we think we all know that those are essentially layoffs, and now it's affecting CNN London. Meanwhile, Don Lemon over at CNN USA and his cohorts are waiting to see if their jobs are next on the chopping block. Well, let me take you over to Fox News here on Hannity. Here's Sarah Carter herself, and I'll let her tell you what she's got to say. Check it out.
It's not just what you're talking about now, but for at least a month, Attorney General William Barr apparently has been back and forth battling the bureaucracy that you were talking about that doesn't want to give up the information that Congress says is essential to understand what actually happened during the 2016 election and the investigation into Trump. One of the issues regarding this is a memorandum that I have right here. It was written in 2017 by Rosemary Collier. She's the judge on the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. And intelligence sources tell me and other attorneys and analysts that within this memorandum is a number of pieces of information that actually list out those abuses, those exact abuses that you were talking about within the intelligence community and in the story that I published today. One of the issues that they're saying is the fact that these expansive laws under the Obama administration allowed for monitoring of people much more than was authorized by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. Now, what the Congress is asking for is nothing to do with sources and methods. If you listen to what former Chairman Devin Nunes, who's now the ranking member on the Intelligence Committee, is asking for, he's asking for the FISA documents to be declassified on Carter Page. He's also asking for emails between the DOJ and the FBI that they have seen that they say will reveal that they knew they were withholding information, and that being the DOJ and FBI were withholding information from the FISC court. And this is essential because that's part of the exculpatory evidence that they're also asking for. Evidence that Carter Page and George Papadopoulos and others had told the FBI spies, that being Stefan Halper, that they had nothing to do with Russia, that there was no connection between them and Russia in the Trump campaign, and they said this as they were being recorded. And another piece of information that the Congress is asking for is for Bruce Orr's 302s. That's the interviews that the FBI conducted with Bruce Orr at the time and the information that he would have. So compile this all together, Sean, and what you can see is that Clapper, Brennan, John Brennan, Clapper, and James Comey are fighting back tooth and nail, and those in the bureaucracy that support them are doing the same. And they were trying to stop A.J. Barr from getting the information, but now President Trump has authorized the declassification, and he's given Barr full authority to examine that information and make it public. And that's what the intelligence sources that I've spoken to says needs to happen, and the American people deserve the truth.
Those are all the good people in the intel community. It's not
Correct.
a matter of if, it's all coming. Sarah, thank you for the $5, as we always talk about.
Okay, so there's a lot to take away from this interview here, but I think the key thing for me in particular is this FISA court judge, Rosemary Collier, who back in 2017, it says right here, in her opinion, she chided the abuses in surveillance in the intelligence community. On example, was Collier's referral as to how the DNI in 2012 was granted access to raw information from terrorism cases obtained under Titles 1 and 3 and Sections 704 and 705 of the Act, subject to expanded minimization procedures. Okay, so it seems to me that she wasn't real clear on how they were getting this information to even build up on the warrant in the first place. And that's going to be really, really key because she was one of the FISA court judges. It's reading between the lines of Collier's opinion, understanding what's been redacted, and what Collier meant by the reprimand. Yeah, what was she actually reprimanding? Sounds like something wasn't done correctly. Now, let's talk about a couple key players here. It is the main reason Barr appointed U.S. Attorney in Connecticut, John Durham, to conduct a thorough investigation into the matter. Durham is extremely familiar with the CIA and has an extensive career investigating the intelligence community. As for U.S. Attorney John Huber, he's no longer working on the FBI's probe into the Trump campaign. He will be focused on other matters. And then let me take you down all the way to the bottom here. Durham is charged with this investigation, and DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz is expected to release his report on the FBI's handling of the investigation into Trump within weeks. These investigations will hold those in the intelligence and law enforcement community accountable, depending on what evidence is discovered. This reporter is hearing from sources that it will be scathing. Those who abuse their power and weaponize a tool meant to target America's enemies against the political opponents should be held accountable. But as it stands now, what we have heard publicly is only the tip of the iceberg, and unless the new DOJ team led by Barr does its job, there is no doubt it will happen again.
Got a flashback aside, yeah, take you back, yeah.
Taking you back to the 13th of December, post 2603, which was referring to post 2601. We were talking about Rosenstein. We were talking about Huber, who was supposed to be at this House oversight hearing and was conspicuously absent. He was someplace else talking about martial law and things like that. Weird stuff. So, Q says, what if there's another prosecutor outside of D.C. assigned by Sessions with the same mandate, authority, one for the history books, not long now? Well, that's our boy Bull Durham, right from Connecticut. He's not a D.C. guy. And it appears that this was our guy all along. Could he very well be our stealth bomber? I'm not really sure. Is John Huber playing games or just running us around? Not really sure, but I want to give you Joe DeGeneva's take on it, who's not a big fan of Huber. Hear what he has to say.
Now, I want to go back to Huber, Durham, and Horowitz. We've got 3 different investigations going on. Are they each investigating something different?
Well, it's hard to tell. First of all, Horowitz is investigating the FISA abuse, plus a separate investigation of James Comey personally and his conduct. Huber was supposed to be investigating leaks and a bunch of other things. He stopped his investigation because of Horowitz, so he's a useless appendage, has done nothing. In fact, he's supposed to be investigating Uranium One, yet he never contacted our law firm, and we represent the key informant in the case, Doug Campbell. So go figure. And then finally, Durham, he's the real McCoy. He's doing what Barr has asked him to do, which is get to the bottom of everything, impanel a grand jury if necessary, return indictments if necessary. The big question is whether or not Horowitz will put on his big boy pants and do something different than he did when he did the Page Strzok thing, where he lays out all of his evidence of bias, and then he says, but there's no evidence it affected any decisions. What a bunch of crap. I mean, he basically went dead to help the institution of the FBI and senior people at DOJ. If he does that again in the FISA thing, if I were the Attorney General, I'd fire him.
All right, so keep in mind, this, of course, is coming from Joey D. But according to him, Durham's the real deal. Huber is just simply, I think he called him a useless appendage. I'm not really sure. It seems to me like Huber is more of a head fake, if you will, but that's what he's saying. And of course, he's not a fan of I.G. Horowitz, who really is the inspector in all this, right? And then, of course, he's also not a big fan of Christopher Wray, whom he says has been blockading this whole thing too. Now, Christopher Wray is pro Comey and seems to be kind of laying the groundwork for Comey, or almost kind of trying to give a supporting narrative to Comey's story. Comey is the one who signed off on the first FISA, so he's got plenty of reason for panic, and we've seen that in the form of lots and lots of cryptic tweets. And then, of course, you've got John. He's a brute. Brennan. And he's in a panic too, because he obtained a lot of this information from MI6. As a matter of fact, that's what I think he was doing over there when he was meeting with Hakluyt. And then, of course, he's got a paid gig over there at CNN. Hope they don't cut his job, because he's over there leaking it to the media, right? So, as Comey and Brennan seems to be kind of having this little face-off, it's like a game of hot potato. Neither one of them wants to claim to the validity of this Steele dossier. The other one wants to put it on the other. What's going on with all that? It's led to all these really cryptic and angry tweets from the both of them. Now, speaking of cryptic tweets, we've been speaking about cryptic tweets, and in particular, a lot of cryptic tweets in relation to dogs. And I want to rememberize you of a couple videos that I made. I talked about this yesterday in my video yesterday, the dogged pursuit up here in the left-hand corner. And this was dated from yesterday, being the 28th. And that was piggybacking on information from this video right here from the 8th, entitled Very Good Boy, which was a reference from an Elizabeth Dances with Wolves Warren tweet. Now, some of you have been trying to clown me about this whole dogs thing. Oh, hey, Patrick, you're wasting my time with this dog story. No, let me clarify something. You're wasting your own time. Don't ever hold me responsible for you wasting your own time. If you don't like the stories that I put on this video, head on off or make your own videos. I do the stories that I want because this has my name on the channel. And by my name on the channel, it actually says In Pursuit of Truth, which is not my name. My name is Sir Patrick Mack, but you get the idea. It's my channel. I'll do the stories that I want. Anyway, so back to these cryptic tweets. I'm sure I'm completely not onto something, because just hours ago, we had another tweet here from Elizabeth Warren. He's always so happy to see me, even if I'm just coming home from the grocery store. And there's Bailey right there. And I gotta admit, Bailey's cute. She looks soft. Yep, seems like a pretty sweet dog. Well, it seems like lately Elizabeth Warren just seems to want to tweet about her dog. Now, that might be nothing at all. I can completely understand that. We also had this one from some hours ago. It was a good walk, but let's ride back home. All right, so maybe she's just a big fan of the dog, and you're going to have to watch my other videos if you're not familiar with what we're talking about. Please start with the video from the 8th entitled Very Good Boy, but it seems like we've got lots of dog tweets coming from Elizabeth Dances with Wolves. And here's an interesting tweet from one of my favorite actresses. Alyssa Milano, Soulful Ache. My Lucy left us last night. She passed in her sleep. She was my baby before I had babies. 16 years. She made sure I was always okay and never alone. Thank you for being mine, Lucy. Kiss Dodger and Diesel for me. Tell them the kids are doing great. Okay, well look, this might very well be just a simple, sad tweet from a Hollywood actress who lost their dog. And losing your dog sucks. It really does. It's losing a family member. I completely get that, and I most certainly do not want to belittle that. But I find it very, very interesting that we've got another actress, as well as a lot of these DC elite seem to want to be tweeting about their dogs. And of course, you may remember this tweet from Eric Smallville, who was trying to get Penny to the White House. Turns out it wasn't just Penny. I guess Eric wanted to go with, right? Because if you donate to Penny, you end up just donating to Eric Smallville. And it was through this group called Act Blue, and that's probably another video on its own. Act Blue's been around for quite some time, and you know, everybody's trying to say that they're not taking any PAC money anymore, and of course there's some truth to that, but essentially I think a lot of these GoFundMes and these groups like Act Blue, who, like I've said, they've been involved with the Clinton organization for a long time. These are just other ways to kind of get around that. I don't really think it's any different, but essentially that's what's going on. But anyway, if you want to go ahead and donate to Penny, just know that it's going to Eric. So if Penny goes to the White House, Eric has to come with. But anyway, there was this tweet about this dog, right? And of course, we were also talking about John McCain's dog, Burma. Well, nobody calls it Burma anymore, right? Nowadays, it's known as Myanmar. Nobody says Burma, except guess what? POTUS mentioned Burma the other day. Yeah, and these live remarks from POTUS, Donald J. Trump aboard the USS Wasp, which incidentally is an amphibious vehicle. Wow, how about that? Check out what POTUS has to say.
One of those intrepid Americans was Private First Class John Schaefer. Born and raised in Tower City, Pennsylvania, Private Schaefer was a member of a group of U.S. Army Special Forces who fought in the Pacific during World War II under the legendary command of General Frank Merrill. Good general? Good general? Pretty good, right? That's what they say. Are you better? Just be as good. Although Private Schaefer sadly perished in the Battle of Burma, his deep love of country endures in someone very special with us today. His grandnephew, Senior Chief Petty Officer Daniel Schaefer.
All right, well, I'm sure that story was probably just another one of our many coincidences, right? Thanks to the Anon who turned me on to the timestamp of that. I had heard it in that speech, and then looking back, I couldn't find it, and so thanks so much. I appreciate timestamps. Help me out so much when you guys want to show me what you want to say. But yeah, there you go. Might be nothing at all, but like I said, I find it very odd coincidence, right? And I'm sure that it's also a coincidence that Eric Smallville's dog is named Penny. You know, Penny was the name of the one that was being rescued in the movie The Rescuers, and I was just talking about that yesterday. We were talking about the death of designer Kate Spade, and days later her husband Andy Spade came out on the town wearing the little mouse mask with the little red scarf around there. I'm sure that's also just coincidence, right? And I'm sure that it's also a complete coincidence that the other day when we were discussing this press conference that POTUS was giving with Prime Minister of Japan Shinzo Abe, where I had stated that he appeared to have mentioned the word emperor. And he was referring to his meeting with Emperor Naruhito, which is also quite an event. As a matter of fact, I guess you could say it was a red carpet event. Yeah, they rolled it out right there for him, huh? Wink, wink, hint, hint. So anyway, there were a lot of you that were debating me saying, Patrick, I think this was just his New York accent showing. There were a lot of you that said that, and that's fine, but I'm going to disagree, and here's why. If you go back to that video, you'll see that I clearly state the difference between him saying emperor and emperor. He mentions the emperor's family. And he says it, what seems very clear to me, emperor. But when he says emperor, he seems to pause for a second and say it. Now, you can agree to disagree and whatever, but for the sake of that, I just want to point that out. And you can go back and you'll even notice that his translator behind him looked up every single time to make sure that he had gotten that right. Just saying. And I was stating in my other video That is a military acronym, oddly enough, for amphibious forces. It means embarkation, movement, preparation, rehearsal, and assault. Once again, embarkation, movement, preparation, rehearsal, and assault. And it generally refers to amphibious assault. And oddly enough, he was on the USS Wasp, which is part of the 7th Amphibious Group. As a matter of fact, here it is right there. Amphibious Force, 7th Fleet. That is part of the USS Wasp. And so I found that very, very odd. And of course, he was making a Burma reference, talking about the Battle of Burma, which oddly enough also involved Japanese forces. So there you go. Might be all, might be nothing. You tell me. All right, Patriots, that's all I got for you for now. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who are doing that. If you are new to my channel, welcome to you. Please understand that from time to time, you are going to get unclicked, unnotified, and unsubscribed. It just happens, and there's nothing that I can do about it. But I will let you know that it's getting increasingly difficult to search my name. Now, some of you have mentioned that IPOT is getting more difficult to search too. IPOT 1776 may help you also, but I found, at least for me, that IPOT helps if you try searching that, and you'll find my videos. But if you find yourself unsubscribed, unnotified, or whatever, just do me a favor and re-click yourself. There's nothing I can do on my end, so that would be a great favor that you could do for me. All my alternate links are down below. My Gab, my BitChute, still working to get those back up. My BitChute seems to be working okay. My Real.video, which is now Brighteon.com, it looks like they're still in some sort of litigation right now, but I've kept the account open. And of course, I'm over here at Twitter at IPOT1776. They haven't killed me yet here at IPOT1776. Now, if you'd like to share some information with me, please email me. Do not DM me on Twitter. Please email me. My email link is down below. And if you'd like to send something old school to my P.O. Box, my P.O. Box is down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below. All those links are down below in the video description. All right, Patriots, have a great day. This is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay pursued.